You have $350 million, and tonight you'll let the woman across from you split the check. Then delete her number before the coffee's cold. $84. She reaches for it first, says, "Let's just split it," and you let her, because that is the whole game. Her name's Maya. It's your fourth date. She thinks you manage a couple of self-storage places out by the interstate. That's what you told her, and you've made sure not one thing about you argues with it. The old Honda out in the lot, the $38 Casio on your wrist, the apartment she is never going to see, and she's great, honestly. Funny. She asked about your mom tonight. She likes you. She likes a guy who doesn't exist. Give it 2 years. A pediatric nurse named Elena gets closer to the truth than anyone alive. And you'll find out the hard way exactly why you can never let that happen. You delete Maya's number at 11:10 that night, standing in a kitchen she'll never stand in. And it doesn't feel like cruelty. It feels like maintenance. She didn't do anything wrong. That's the part nobody would understand. She was kind, she was sharp, she remembered your mother had surgery in March. But by the fourth date, a woman starts asking the questions a fourth date earns. Where do you live? Can she see it? Why do you always pick the middle price thing on the menu like you're doing math in your head? The cover only survives strangers. Maya was about to stop being one. So you do what you always do. You let her go while she still likes you. Here's the man the world is allowed to meet. He drives a 2017 Honda Accord, 60,000 miles, parked every night in the lot of a building he owns and the tenants think he rents. He wears a $38 Casio because a watch is the first thing a certain kind of woman prices and yours prices at nothing. His profile says regional operations, self-storage, and the photos were chosen the way you choose everything, deliberately. No view behind him, no watch. A man you'd guess clears $60,000 a year and is fine, never quite great. You're 39. You have $350 million. You've been on 11 first dates this year and not one reached a fifth. The math of you is the problem. You can carry what do you do for about 3 dates before something stops adding up. The way you never check a bill, the way money never moves your face, the way a man who supposedly runs self-storage somehow knows what a triple net lease is and has to pretend he doesn't. 3 dates is the runway. After that, the lie needs a hanger. There was a woman last month, Dana. Marketing laughed easily, like the same terrible action movies you do. That date went perfectly. The cover held the whole way through, smooth as glass, and afterward she texted that she'd had such a good time. You sat there holding the phone and felt nothing, because a perfect cover means it worked. It means no one was ever in the room with you. You spent a whole evening being liked and not 1 second being known. The date didn't fail. The date succeeding was the failure. What you don't know yet, deleting Maya with the faucet still running, is that the opposite is coming for you, that a woman is about to get all the way inside the room, and that you will be the one who burns it down to keep the door shut. It's 11:40 when the app buzzes again. A new match. Elena, 34, a pediatric nurse, 2 photos, no filter, looking faintly annoyed in both in a way you can't stop looking at. Her first message is already sitting there. It doesn't say what do you do. It says, your face says you're hiding something boring. You read it 3 times. You set the phone down. You pick it up. And for the first time in a very long time, you don't have a reply ready. So you do the strangest thing you've done all year. You don't answer. You don't answer Elena, because before you can, you have to decide which version of yourself to send. And that question opens a door you keep shut. You never tell it the same way twice. To one woman, you're an operations guy. To another, you do something vague in logistics. You rotate the lie like a man rotating tires, evenly, so no single story ever wears through. And you've never once asked yourself out loud why a grown man worth 9 figures builds a different fake life for every person he might love. You know why. You just don't say it. Her name was Sarah. 8 years ago. You were 31 and worth $4 million. New money, the kind still loud in your chest, the kind you haven't learned to carry. And you wanted, more than you wanted to be safe, to be known by one person. So on a Sunday, in her kitchen, the coffee is going cold between you, you told her. All of it, the number, the plan, the whole quiet machine. You watched her face do the math. It wasn't ugly. That's what people get wrong. She didn't reach for a calculator. She just recalibrated. Within a week, she was saying we about things that had been you. She started suggesting restaurants you'd be the one to choose. Her brother had an idea for a business. Just a conversation, no pressure, you'd love him. None of it a crime. All of it a fog. That was the cost. Not money. You never lost $1 to Sarah. You lost the ability to know. Every kind thing she did after that Sunday, you held up to the light and turned it, hunting the angle, and the hunting never stopped. And a love you have to inspect is already over. You left in the spring. She never understood why. You couldn't explain that the problem wasn't that she'd changed. It was that you could no longer tell whether she had. That Sunday you made a rule, and you've kept it like scripture for 8 years. No woman learns the number until she's already decided to stay for the man. Get loved first, reveal later. Protect the data. What you've spent 8 years refusing to admit is that the rule has no winning move. Tell her early, you poison it with the money. Tell her late, you poison it with the lie. A love built on a hidden number and a love built on a revealed one both rot. They just rot on different schedules. And the woman who messaged you tonight is going to walk you all the way to the bottom of that. And stand there while you read the answer. At 7 in the morning, you pick up the phone. You look at her message one more time. Your face says you're hiding something boring. And something in it makes you want badly to be the boring man she's imagining. You type, "It's extremely boring. Let me prove it. Dinner Thursday?" She replies in 4 minutes. Yes, you tell yourself it's one date. You've told yourself that before, in those exact words. And you were wrong every single time. Thursday, out of pure habit, you put on the Casio. Thursday, you're 20 minutes into dinner before you notice she hasn't asked you one question the cover was built to answer. Not what you do. Not where you live. Not what you drive. She asks what you wanted to be at 9. She asks, leaning in, "What are you actually afraid of?" And the cover, which has a clean answer for everything a normal date throws at it, just stands there with its mouth open. You built a fake job. You never built a fake fear. So for a second, by accident, you tell her something true. That should have scared you off. It's date 3 before you realize it didn't. By date 5, the storage company has grown a whole world. There's a coworker now, Rick, who micromanages the night shift. A boss you don't respect. A commute, a bad one, on the same interstate you happen to own a frontage parcel along. Each lie needs the last lie to stay standing, so you start writing them down. Not in your head, in a second phone, a cheap one, where a folder labeled "Nothing" holds the details of a man who doesn't exist, so you won't contradict him by accident over pasta. You are a man worth $350 million, keeping a spreadsheet so a pediatric nurse won't find out you're not poor. Date 9 nearly ends it. A place downtown, good but not flashy, the kind you like. Except you own it through an LLC, 3 layers deep, and you forgot the valet has your real car. He's young, eager, he wants you to know he remembers you. "Good to see you again, sir," he says, holding the door, warm, right in front of Elena. She turns. "Again?" You laugh it off. Confused him with somebody, you've never set foot in here, you've just got one of those faces. And you tip him $5. 5, a man with $350 million, palming a folded 5 to a kid to make him stop talking. And the costume tightens around your throat for 2 full seconds before Elena lets it go and the night moves on without you. That's the night the thing turns over in you. Because walking her to her door at midnight, for the first time in 8 years, you don't want to protect the secret. You want to put it down. You want to say the sentence and watch what her face does, and trust, like an idiot, like Sarah never happened, that it stays her face. You get as far as her name on the sidewalk, then you say goodnight instead. There's a small war you keep losing at the end of these dates, and the check is where you lose it. Elena always reaches for the bill. Always. And you always insist on splitting it down the middle, exact to the dollar, and she started calling it your one weird thing. "You and your splitting," she says. "It's weird in a sweet way." She means it as affection. It lands on you as a verdict. She thinks she's looking at a careful man. She's looking at a coward. Date 11, over dessert, she says her parents want to meet you. Sunday. "They'll ask what you do," she says, grinning, squeezing your hand. "Brace yourself, but don't worry, they're harmless." You smile and tell her Sunday sounds great. Sunday is the day the lie has to put on a clean shirt and shake an honest man's hand. Hector carves the pot roast like a man who's carved 1,000 of them. And somewhere between the potatoes and the second pour of wine he sets the knife down, looks at you the way fathers look, and asks what you do for a living. You give him the boring answer. Self-storage. Regional. Steady. He nods slowly, satisfied, and says the most dangerous sentence you've heard in a year. Good. A steady man. Elena's had enough of the other kind. He means it as a blessing. And it is one. Handed warmly to a man who doesn't exist. Her mother likes you. Her father trusts you. The whole table relaxes around the careful, ordinary man you built, and you sit inside him and feel like a thief at your own welcome dinner. And then the old instinct wakes up, the one you can't switch off, the one that's vetted every deal you've ever signed. And you do something you're not proud of. You run a test on her. You mention lightly over coffee that work's been shaky, a cash flow thing. You might lose the contract. You might be out of a job by spring. You say it while watching her face the exact way you once watched a seller's face across a $2 million property. Looking for the flicker, the recalculation, the small quiet retreat. Same machinery. You aim it at the woman you might love, and you pull the trigger. There's no flicker. She reaches across the table, takes your hand in front of her parents, and tells you the two of you will figure it out. They're not made of money, but they're fine, and she can cover the rent for a while if it comes to that. She said we about your invented poverty without a half second of hesitation. She passes. And here's the thing nobody warns you about. When she passes, it gets worse, not better. The test was the last excuse you had. As long as you didn't know whether she was safe, the lie was protection. Now you know. The only thing standing between you and the truth is no longer her. It's you. It was always you. That night at her door, she says it. I love you. First time. Quiet, almost annoyed at herself, the way she's annoyed in her photos. You feel it land somewhere under your ribs. Real. A deposit into an account you'd written off years ago. And you don't say it back. Not because you don't feel it. Because you can't say it from inside the costume, and you can't say it without taking the costume off. And on her welcome mat, you find out you don't yet have the courage to do either one. She nods, slow. Something closes a little behind her eyes. She says goodnight. The door clicks shut. And you stand alone in the hallway knowing you just hurt her with silence to protect a secret she'd already proven she could keep. You drive home in the Honda, and you do the thing you do best. You let it run. You'll find the moment you tell yourself. After the next trip, once work calms down. Work that doesn't exist. You say I love you back a week later and mean it, and still you don't say the rest. The lie gets heavier the way everything you own got built. Quietly, daily. Until it's 2 years deep and load-bearing, and there's no version of the truth left that doesn't bring the whole thing down on both of you. 2 years. That's exactly how long it ran. 2 years of being loved as a man who manages self-storage. She has even seen an apartment. A modest one-bedroom in a building you own, where the neighbors think you rent and the Honda sleeps in the lot. You keep it lived in for exactly this. The real one she has never seen. Now you've set a date to change that. Saturday, 2 weeks out. You rehearse the confession in the Honda, alone, the way other men rehearse a proposal. Elena, the storage thing is true. It's just not all of it. You say it to the windshield. It sounds like a brag. You try again softer, more apology in it, and now it sounds like a man who got caught. Except you didn't get caught, you're turning yourself in, which is somehow worse. There's a brag version and a guilt version, and you can't find the third. The one where you hand someone the truth, and it sits there being neither a flex nor a crime. 2 weeks of drafts. No third version exists. You start cleaning the apartment she's never seen, and that's when it goes quiet in a way you didn't expect. Because emptying it out, you see how much of you actually lives there. The deal files. The 2 phones side by side, the real one and the one that belongs to the man who isn't real. The watch in the drawer. The one you bought the year you crossed 100 million, worth more than the Honda downstairs, that you've never worn for a single living person. You're about to hand Elena the keys to 8 years of rooms you built so nobody could come in. And under the nerves, a dread you can't argue your way out of. What if the truth doesn't free you? What if it just moves the loneliness to a new address? Right now the distance is, she doesn't know me. You're starting to suspect that on the far side of Saturday it becomes, she can't ever look at me as an equal again. And that one has no fix. No second phone. No confession that clears it. You're going to do it anyway. 8 years behind glass, and you've decided you'd rather lose her out in the open air. You don't make it to Saturday. 3 days before, she's dropping you off. Home, to the Honda, to the fiction. And your real phone rings, and you answer without thinking because it's your property manager and a tenant in one of the buildings is 90 days down. Yeah, you say. File it. Start the eviction Monday. You hang up. The car is very quiet. Elena is looking at you. What was that? And there it is. No clean dinner, no cooked meal, no chosen words, no version 3. Just a woman in a parked car who heard a man who manages self-storage order an eviction like he owns the place. You could lie. You've got a whole second phone full of practice. You feel the old reflex load up smooth and fast. You put it down. There's something I need to show you, you say. Not tell you, show you, my real apartment, right now if you'll come. She doesn't say anything for a long moment. Then she puts the car in drive. Okay, show me. You give her the address. The 14th floor of the nicest building you own. The whole ride up in the elevator neither of you speaks, and you stand in front of a door you've never once unlocked for another human being, and you unlock it. The door opens on a wall of glass in a city laid out 14 floors down, and Elena steps inside slowly, the way you enter a place you already know you don't belong in. She doesn't say anything about the view. She looks at the rooms instead, the office, the 2 phones, the full-sized evidence of a man with money, and you turn the laptop toward her, because you've decided to do this all the way or not at all. The portfolio summary is open. The total sits at the bottom in a plain font that isn't trying to impress anyone. $350 million. She doesn't gasp. She goes very still, the stillness of someone rereading their own life backward, and when she finally speaks, it isn't about the money at all. How long, she says, have you been lying to me? And it isn't greed in her face. That's the thing that breaks you. You spent 8 years braced for greed. For the we, for the brother with the idea. And what you get instead is grief. She's going back through every date. The valet. The splitting of every check. You watch her take each memory off the shelf and ask the same question of all of them. Was that real? Or was that a test? You watch her do to this relationship exactly what you once watched Sarah do to you. Take something whole and start inspecting it for the angle. Except this time you aren't the one being inspected. You're the reason the inspection started. She names the cash flow scare at her parents' table before you can. You don't deny it, which is the same as saying yes. She nods slow and then she says the truest thing anyone has ever said to you, and it goes in like something with an edge. You didn't hide this to protect me. You hid it so you'd never have to find out if I was good. You kept me as an experiment, so you'd never have to be let down. She wipes her face once, fast, angrier at the tears than at you. Do you know how lonely that is? To be somebody's experiment and call it a relationship? And there it is. The fear you've been calling protecting her for 8 years, turned over in the light, and underneath it the plain shape of protecting yourself. She tries to keep her footing, reaches into her bag for a 20, something about the groceries for the dinner that was supposed to happen at her place. It dies in her hand. There's no paying anyone back in this room. No splitting anything. No fairness left to perform 14 floors up with a man worth $350 million. The split check was always a lie. Standing here, it's just an impossible one. She puts the 20 back in her bag. At the door, she stops. She doesn't slam anything. She isn't that kind of angry. She's the other kind. The kind already mourning. I didn't fall in love with a man who has money, she says. I could have handled the money. I fell in love with a man who didn't trust me. For 2 years. That's the part I can't get past. The door closes soft behind her. And you stand in the most expensive apartment in a building full of people who pay you rent alone and you already know. The way you know a deal's weight before you sign it. That you won't learn the thing she just handed you. That you'll do it all again. It should frighten you more than it does. It doesn't feel like a home. It doesn't feel like a fortress. It feels like a vault. Something built to keep things safe by keeping everything out. 3 weeks later, your accountant, Diane, who's kept your books for 7 years, sends the quarterly at 9:14 on a Tuesday morning, subject line Q3 summary, and you read it standing at the glass in the apartment Elena walked out of. Total asset value has crossed $362 million. You wait for it to feel like something. When you were 31, 4 million in and dreaming, you were certain a number like this would land in your body like a change in the weather. That there'd be a morning you'd wake up and the fear would just be gone, paid off, retired. You stand there at 39 with the number glowing on the screen and the fear exactly where it's always been. And you finally understand the lie folded inside the dream. The number was never going to do that. No number was ever going to do that. You make dinner alone. You eat it in front of a view the millions of people in this city will never once stand in, and you would trade the whole pane of glass, tonight, for an $84 check split down the middle with someone who was actually in the room. You think about Maya, who you deleted at 11:10 on a Wednesday and never thought about again. You think about Dana, who texted that she had such a good time. You think about all 11 of them. Everyone let go while she still liked you, and how proud you used to be of that. You draft a text to her. 3 sentences. No lie left to manage, no version 3 required. Just the clean, true thing said plain at last. You were right about all of it. I'm sorry. I'd give the whole thing back to undo what I did to you. Your thumb sits over the send. You delete it. Not out of fear this time. That would almost be a relief, the old familiar fear. You delete it because you finally see what sending it would be. Handing her your loneliness to hold so you don't have to carry it yourself. She already paid for 2 years of being your experiment. She doesn't owe you the cleanup too. So you run the math one last time the way you run all math. Cold. The 11 buildings. The storage facilities off 3 interstates. The parking structure downtown that prints money while you sleep. The certainty every single day that nobody in your life is using you. That's the asset. That's what 8 years of the costume bought. Free and clear. No liens on it. And it cost you the one woman who was never an experiment until you made her one. It cost you the only person who passed. The ledger balances. It always balances. You just hate, for the first time in your life, what's written at the bottom of it. You walk to the drawer. The expensive watch is still there, where it's always been, the one you've never worn for anybody. You look at it for a second. Then you slide the drawer shut. Pick the $38 Casio up off the counter and put it back on your wrist. You open the app. It asks you to finish your profile. The first field blinking says, "What do you do?" Your hands already know the answer. The restaurant is new. The date is new. The woman across from you is named Priya, 36, an architect, dry and quick. And 3 minutes in, she tilts her head and asks it, "So, what do you do?" You hear yourself answer before you decide to. "I manage some self-storage. A few facilities off the interstate." The lie goes on like an old coat, exactly your size, broken in at the elbows. She nods. She believes it instantly. They always believe it instantly. That's the genius of it, and the grave of it both. It goes well. Of course it goes well. By the 3rd date, the cover is holding the way it always holds. The Honda holds. The Casio holds. And you understand now, with both eyes open, exactly what you're doing and exactly what it's for. It was never really about gold diggers. You told yourself that for 8 years, and it was never the whole truth. It's that you want, just once a week across a small table, to be approached as a person and not a portfolio. To be liked as a man instead of priced as an asset. And the only way you've ever found to buy that is to lie. Knowing the lie guarantees the same ending it always reaches. The one you can already see coming for Priya the same way it came for Maya. For Dana. For every one of them. The check comes. $76. Priya reaches for it and says, "Let's split." And you let her. And $38 leaves the account of a man worth $362 million. Used to think the split check was a shield. A clever little thing that kept the world from seeing you. You know better now. It doesn't shield you from the world. It shields you from ever being known by anyone in it. And you slide your card down beside hers anyway, on purpose, all the way awake. You're not waiting for a different ending anymore. You stopped waiting the night Elena closed that door. Somewhere across the city there's a 14th floor apartment with a view and an office and a watch in a drawer, and a number at the bottom of a spreadsheet that will climb again next quarter whether anyone loves you or not. And somewhere else, Elena is being known. Really known, plainly, by someone who never had to keep a second phone. You hope that's true. You sit with it a second, and you decide you mean it. Priya laughs at something you said, easy, and asks if you want to do this again. You say yes. You'll carry the careful man another 3 dates. Maybe 4 this time, if she's not the kind to ask too fast. And then, before she gets close enough to learn the one thing that ends it, you'll let her go while she still likes you, the way you've let all of them go. You signal for the rest of the check. You can afford anything in this room. Anything at all. Except the one thing on the other side of the truth. That's the trade. That's the whole trade. If this one stayed with you, like and drop a comment with where you're watching from. Subscribe for more.